Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about a classic, and this is a film that came out in 1974, and it is Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation. To me, this is one of Coppola's most underrated movies of the 70s, which is very, very unfortunate. It just happened to come out right between two of the most famous films that he ever did, and of course, two of the most iconic films in the history of cinema would be The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. And this one just kind of got lost in the shuffle, but I have to say, as much as I love The Godfather, I prefer The Conversation. To me, I have a more intimate and just a more personal connection with it. This film is considered to be a thriller in terms of its genre, but I consider it to be a very subtle thriller. And it's more of a character study than anything else. The movie is about a character named Harry Call, played by Gene Hackman in one of the best performances I think he ever gave in his career, which is saying a lot. He is a sound surveillance expert who is paid to spy on this young couple. As he gets deeper and deeper into learning about these characters and listening into one specific conversation that they have, he realizes that somebody may actually be trying to murder them. And this really scares Harry a lot because of his work, people have been hurt in the past and he doesn't want that to happen again. I don't really want to say that this film was ahead of its time necessarily, but it did come out during the period of, the Watergate scandal, and, it was right after Vietnam. And I think just media and television and just technology in general was starting to become something that was really taking shape as a weapon or something that we could utilize more than for just practical reasons. But I honestly think that this film actually has more resonance today than it ever has. It captures such an idea of where our world was headed and what we have become, certainly. Just like I think a film like David Fincher's The Social Network captured the digital age, I think that The Conversation also has that same kind of eerie loneliness, that we're so alienated from each other and unable to connect with each other like we used to be able to. The film The Conversation, that's a metaphor. He's not really talking to people. He would rather look at people from a distance through a microscope. And it's kind of the same way today, except instead of looking at people and talking to them, looking through microscopes, we are Facebook stalking them, we are following them on Twitter. It's just very cold and it's calculated and voyeuristic to a large extent. And Harry Call is a representation of this world. He's this guy who lacks in almost every way. He's very socially awkward, extremely guarded and withdrawn, and I think he would have fit in perfectly in the internet age. But he's also extremely paranoid, so everything is very impersonal. He tries not to become attached to anything. He even says that he doesn't own anything of value except the key to his apartment. And he also appears to be very religious, but like a lot of people, I don't think he uses religion as a way to explore faith and goodness like I guess you should, but I think he uses it as a way to punish himself, and he feels incredible guilt in his life, and I think a lot of it is because of his job. He's snooping around in places that he shouldn't, and of course this has caused bloodshed in the past. And he may not be the one who directly creates the bloodshed physically, but in a way he's almost worse because he's the distant observer who doesn't have to be directly involved. In a way he has the most power because he is the cause of the chaos. He just sits back and watches. You really see that as he tries to observe this particular couple. He will listen into their conversation and record it, play it backwards and forwards all day long until he knows it inside out, but he will never have a conversation with anybody in his real life. He won't have a personal life. And a lot of us, I think, are the same way in life. We may want to improve ourselves, but we're too busy kind of living vicariously through other people. We'd rather look at characters and judge them rather than improving ourselves or people in our lives. And that very impersonal feeling seems to be getting worse and worse in terms of the disconnect. And as I said before, Harry Call is a very paranoid person, and there's a definite sense of paranoia in the way that the movie is directed. Yet it doesn't rely on any quick cuts or chase sequences. It relies on silence, which to me is a lot scarier than all the bells and whistles. There is a scene towards the end of the film where Harry has to spy on the couple, and he's in the hotel next to them, and it is just one of the greatest sequences I've seen in terms of thrillers. You hear everything from just a little drop of water to the dialogue in the next room to the air conditioner. It's everything, and the sound design is just so meticulous and so phenomenal and creepy. Just the entire film, I love the way that it combines the background noises and the overlapping sounds of people talking, cars, music, and then on top of it you have these very distorted visual effects, which to me captures the overall tone of the movie. And the final image in the film is one that I will never forget. It's one of those that I rank at the top as one of those haunting last moments that really kind of got under my skin, I guess, in a way. And I'm not going to give it away, but it's just a wonderful metaphor of how we as people just destroy ourselves. We will self-destruct because of all this guilt and paranoia and frustration that we bring upon ourselves. And for what? All we have done is just made things worse, and we have become more isolated and more alone than we were in the first place. And it's a painful and very important message. And it's just, I think the entire movie, in terms of characterization, the way it's shot, it's a very mature piece of storytelling. And I think that, again, I know that The Godfather came out, you know, this movie came out right in between the first Godfather and the second one, but I think this one deserves a lot more praise than it was given with audiences. I mean, it's Francis Ford Coppola, so, and you know, he was at his peak in the 1970s, so it's definitely worth seeing if you haven't. And that is my review. Thank you all for listening. If you would like to follow me on Twitter, the link is below, and you can also like my Facebook page in the link below that. Catch you next time.